On this episode of The Quest, I'm excited to welcome Paul Warloski, the founder and head coach of Simple Endurance Coaching. Paul is dedicated to helping everyday endurance athletes conquer their goals with a straightforward, research-based approach. His philosophy is all about balance: go slow lots, go fast some, lift heavy things, do yoga, and eat healthy foods, guiding athletes through everything from cycling and running races to long-distance events like Ironman triathlons. I first met Paul when I was a guest on the Athletes Compass podcast. Link to that episode in the show notes. And what immediately caught my attention was his passion for cycling. As an avid cyclist myself, Paul truly understands the mindset and dedication it takes to push boundaries in endurance sports. Today we dive into his approach to coaching, endurance training, and how he helps athletes to tap into their full potential. See you in the episode. Today I'm introducing you to a groundbreaking health and wellness device that could change the way you monitor your metabolic health, the ACE Track. I've been using it myself for a while and I've learned a lot along the way. The ACE Track is a cutting-edge breath analyzer designed to measure your ketone levels in real time, giving you instant insights into your metabolic state, whether you're following a ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting, or just looking to optimize your health. The ACE Track provides the information you need to stay on track and achieve your goals. What sets the ACE Track apart is its convenience and accuracy. Unlike traditional blood tests, ACE Track is non-invasive and it's pain-free. Simply breathe into the device, and within seconds you receive precise ketone readings on your smartphone via the ACE Track app. The app not only tracks your progress over time, but also offers guidance to help you make informed decisions about your diet and lifestyle. The sleek, portable design makes ACE Track perfect for use at home or on the go. It's easy to carry, simple to use, and it provides consistent, reliable results every single time. With ACE Track, you can effortlessly monitor how your body responds to different foods, activities, and routines, empowering you to optimize your metabolic health and reach your wellness goals faster. So join the growing community of health enthusiasts who are taking control of their metabolism via ACE Track. So say goodbye to guesswork and hello to healthier, more informed you. Get your ACE Track today and start your journey towards optimal health and wellness. So don't miss out on this revolutionary tool. Visit getacetrack.com. You find the full address in the show notes beneath, and use the code Primal Swede and receive a $40 or €40 discount, okay? Stay strong. Awesome. So we have a new exciting episode with the Quest podcast where we talk about endurance, mental strength, and taking on new exciting challenges. So a while ago, I attended the Athletes Compass podcast, where I also met a few of the hosts, obviously. A good experience. And today on this podcast, on this episode today, I thought and I figured, let's invite Paul. I'm sure he has quite some interesting things to share in the field of endurance. And I took a look on or at your website as well. And I see you're a cycling coach and I'm into cycling. So I think we have a few things in common, right? So according as I always do, welcome to the podcast, The Quest, Paul. And just, let's start somewhere. So share a bit about yourself, who you are, and why you do what you do, and what you find to be most interesting in the field of endurance. Welcome to the podcast, Paul.
Well, thank you, Eric. It's nice to be on this side of the proverbial microphone and talking with you. The Athletes Compass podcast has been a labor of love, and it's been a lot of fun to develop that. I am an endurance athlete. I'm a coach for everyday athletes. I used to be a middle school English teacher, and I did that for 20 some years and decided to retire early so that I could pursue this dream of coaching. I have been, a cyclist for a lot of years, and in that process, have coached and helped people along the way. And at a certain point, I was having more fun giving to people and giving back to the sport. and decided to get my all my licensing and certifications through USA Cycling and through a running coaching group and getting my yoga certification, getting a strength training certification, getting all the certifications so that I could help people and support people as they took on their own challenges and their own adventures. And that was really the goal that I had, was to help everyday athletes. I'm not an elite athlete. I never was a professional,
Yeah.
and I don't have that sports science background. I've learned a lot in the process, and I've learned a lot in the last 5 years of interviewing Paul Larson. That's the reason that I do it. Is to learn from him. But I take all those lessons and I'm trying to help others achieve, if they have a bucket list goal, if they have something that they really want to accomplish, if they're curious about what is inside of them and what they can accomplish. Maybe they've had a family and put aside their training for a couple of years and they're thinking, I'd like to get back into it and I wonder what I've got in the tank. And those are the kind of people that I really like working with, and like working with those who have got a goal. So I've been doing this for, the cycling part for, 4 decades, and still doing it. So it's going to be fun. That I'm glad that you like talking about new challenges, because I've got a new challenge coming up that I'm looking forward to next year. So we've got some things to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious because you also mentioned you were a middle school teacher. So what kind of made you make that transition into endurance coaching? Like for myself, for instance, I've been like I studied other things, didn't study sports science or anything. Like my background is completely different, and I think I shared this in the Athletes Compass podcast as
Hmm.
well. Like I have zero background in sports, but I sort of made a transition myself as I started to realize I love the freedom and I love movement and all of these things, right? But it's kind of a radical shift in my life. So what made you actually sort of transition into sports instead of just continue as a middle school teacher?
It's a really good question, and someday I'm going to sit down with a therapist and try to figure that out, because I'm not really sure. At a certain point, teaching in the States was getting very politicized and more challenging, and I was having less fun. I've always viewed myself, when I was teaching, as more of a coach. I taught English and reading and writing to middle school, adolescents, and I viewed the job much more as a person trying to coach these young people to enjoy reading and writing. And in the meantime, I also, I coached basketball. I coached soccer for a year, and I don't know much about soccer or football in Europe. But I could coach, and I understood how to develop relationships with my athletes, with my kids. And at a certain point, I realized that did not want to keep teaching. I miss the kids. I love the interaction with the kids, but it was really I could see the writing on the wall. This was before COVID and before all of that. But I realized that I needed to do something different, and I needed to do something that I could still work with people,
Uh-huh.
work with, develop relationships and support them and really help them develop their own beliefs. And so it was kind of in some ways, it seems like a big change, but in other ways, I was shifting my coaching from in the classroom to now out in the field. And so there are a lot of similarities with what I do now, and I get to do the fun parts. The coaching part was the fun part. Now I get to do it full time.
Yeah. Cool. So, but you do the sport itself as well, right? So you have lots
Hmm.
of experience in cycling. So apart from coaching, I don't know, like share a bit about your experience like a cyclist, like as an athlete as well. Like what have you been doing and what's your experience from that perspective?
Yeah, I have been an athlete for most of my life, and I've always been very active. I have, ADHD, and I need to be doing something. I need to be moving all the time. Um, and in college and after college, I was doing a lot of running. I did a marathon, train for that, and realized that I liked it, but I liked riding my bike more.
Yeah.
And I got into racing after I finished at the university, and never looked back in terms of the cycling. Did a lot of road racing when road racing was more popular in the States. I got into cyclocross 20 some years ago, and really, that I really enjoyed cyclocross, and I got to be decent at it. I was never a national level rider, but um, I was doing all right with it. Then I started getting into gravel, and the gravel has had a little element of cyclocross in it, that adventurous kind of like looking at, what is out there in the world that we don't get to explore very often. And then it combines a little bit of road, where you're out, there's some road tactics um and so now I really enjoy the gravel scene because it reminds me of the kind of road riding that we used to do, but it's much more relaxed. It's not, if you get dropped in a road race, you're kind of done. But you're gonna get dropped in a gravel race, and that's okay. You get to ride with more people and get to meet people and talk with people along the way, and that's the fun part. So I still ride my bike. I'm doing a cross race this Sunday down in Chicago. I still love to race. I still love to ride. And I coach some 70-year-olds, and I hope I can keep going,
I hear you.
doing what they do at 70 because that's pretty awesome.
So what's kind of the most intriguing part about endurance then, like when I grew up, I was thinking about this today. I'm preparing a webinar I'm holding tomorrow, and I was sort of reflecting on my own childhood, and I remember I kind of liked biking, but I kind of hated running, right? So, everything changes, and now I'm back into running again, but I love cycling more, I think. That's kind of more
Hmm. Do
still.
you? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but I kind of upping my level in running as well as I'm preparing for a 100K race in January. But still, it's kind of endurance, right? So it's something
Hmm.
about endurance. It's something about the freedom of movement. So, I mean, my brother played soccer. You mentioned soccer, but I never did. I never did any team sports. So Paul, what do you see in endurance training? Like, what's appealing in endurance for you?
You know, I'm not sure. Part of it is I have had asthma and pretty severe asthma since I was a kid, since I think I got diagnosed when I was in elementary school, and the doctors there said that I would never do endurance sports and that I would never do sports in general. And so part of it is like, a big, to you guys, proving them all wrong. And I think there's an element of that where there's an overcoming of a challenge, and I still have asthma. I still use the inhalers and I'm still treated for it. And so there's that element of like, I just enjoy doing something that I wasn't supposed to do. But there's also that, not but, and there's that element of the freedom. I love doing long bike rides. I love, going fast. That was the challenge with running. I wasn't going fast enough. Um, and it, I love going on a trail run. I like that a lot. I wasn't as big a fan of just getting on the road and pounding on the pavement, on running. That just seemed to hurt more than anything. But trail running was, that was fun. But it's harder to find trails. With riding a bike, there is that element of exploring. There's the element of testing yourself. But Eric, there's also this element for me that I think is there's that metronomic, that constant pedaling.
Yeah.
It's like meditating for me, in a way where I am just pedaling my bike. I've got a tattoo on my one arm that just says breathe because I tend to get all and I need to breathe. But on the other arm, I'm working on a design that's just going to say pedal. And that's becomes a metaphor for just calm down and relax and just do the thing over and over. So there's a lot, there's a lot of emotional and mental components that go into endurance riding. It's not just a physical act. It's it keeps me sane. I'm sure of it. I think I would, not be sane if I did not have the bike or the run, although I probably wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
survive without doing something.
It's kind of like I when I go for long rides, I did Kattegat circuit this in August, like 700K in one go.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like sometimes when I'm out there pedaling, it sort of resembles, it's like I'm watching a movie, right? I see the landscape and everything changes, slowly changes. I see the landscape and the forests and the grass and everything. But it's better than sitting on a couch back at my place watching Netflix, right? So I'm actually in
Hmm.
the movie. And the movie, well, I'm the how do you say, the main character in this movie, right? It's quite meditative, as you say as
It,
well. And just have this pedaling. It's almost like Zen, right? You're in it.
it really is, and I can't imagine doing that for as long as you did for that on that trip. I mean, that must have been, there's that point in meditation where you kind of hit a wall, and I imagine in that kind of a length of ride, you did the same, where you just like you hit a wall and then you just kept going through it, and that's the idea.
Yeah, I mean, when I was bike packing across the United States, I was in North Dakota, or maybe it was Minnesota, and did this 270K just in one day, right?
Wow.
And I was biking throughout the day, and then it sort of transpires like in a movie. So you see all these things changing around you, but you're still the same person. You're still on that bike. You're still pedaling. It's
Yeah.
beautiful experience. Right? So
Yeah.
yeah. So you have your cycling coach. To tell me a bit about being a cycling coach. I've been doing lots of cycling myself, obviously. It's kind of my love, it's my passion. But I never hired a cycling coach. So how would a cycling coach work with a client, for instance?
Yeah, and and it becomes very individualized, and that's what when I am on a virtual coffee, and that's what I call the first
Yeah.
meeting when when I'm talking with somebody, I'm trying to get a sense of whether they need a coach or whether they just need a training plan. For some people, having a training plan like Athletica or something else that you can get is all they need, and they just need some structure.
Yeah.
Um, Other people need accountability. They need some hand holding. They need somebody to uh, answer questions. For me, what's most important is that we develop this relationship where I start to get to know them and what they need, because the training plan is in some ways not generic, but you can get a generic plan, from Training Peaks, or I sell them, so you can just get a plan and download it and do it, but you're never quite sure whether it's the right kind of workouts, the right kind of progression, the right kind of stimulation that you need. So you and I would work together to set a schedule that fits your lifestyle. We would develop, because most of the people that I work with have busy lives. And so, excuse me, just trying to create a schedule is always a challenge. But then we develop this relationship where we work on what you need. I add strength training, I add yoga, we do interval work, we do endurance work. It's all kind of the same um, process, but what we do is do it in a way that works with your schedule, with your life, and what you need. I just started working with a guy who's a pilot, and he has got a really goofy schedule because he's in the air or on in working like 3 days in a row, and then he's got 4 or 5 days off, and then he's got 4 days on a work trip. But he's also a sprinter. He's also a big, strong guy, and so a regular training plan is not going to work for him.
Yeah.
Um, so we needed to not only work with his individual schedule, but we need to get him, create a base to create some intensity, build up his VO2 max. So there's a lot of pieces that we get to pull together that he wouldn't get from just a regular training plan. Even with my athletes on Athletica, because I have, several athletes that I coach who use the Athletica plan, and then I coach them. We, I add the strength, I add the yoga, and then we talk a lot. We talk a lot about their training and about what they need and how we need to change things in Athletica to meet their specific needs. So it's really about developing that individual relationship with an athlete.
Yeah. Would you say like your main genre or sport is cycling, or could it be like for marathon, like people want to do marathon as well, for instance?
Yeah, most of the people that I work with are cyclists. I am
Yeah.
starting to work with more triathletes, which I find interesting. Like, at first I wasn't going to work with kids, with junior athletes, and all of a sudden I, you know, took on two, and then two became 10, and it's like I don't know how that happened. Um, and I've never done a triathlon in my life, and I don't like to swim, but I am good at helping people get faster. If a person really wants to get good at triathlon, I'm not their guy. I'm the person who I can work with your schedule and I can help you in your process to become faster. But if you really want to get at, finishing in your age group, then I will refer you to somebody else. But so I'm working with some triathletes, I'm working with some runners. Cycling is the majority of what I do, though. That's what I feel most comfortable with. And it's fun, and I get to see some of the clients when I get out to races. I get to hang out with them, and that's always fun too.
I'm thinking, as you said, like your clients tend to be busy people. Right? So I imagine, my experience as well, my clients tend to be, well, those are the people that have often quite a clear goal, like they want to accomplish something, right? So that usually tends to mean that in other parts of their lives as well, they also have clear goals and so on. So they tend to have quite a
Mm.
hectic schedule, right? So my experience as well, you can buy a training program from whatever platform, but it's kind of generic. Then you need sort of the guidance, like to hold someone's hand to get somewhere. And obviously, if you started to work with kids, so yeah, younger people, the younger generation, and you have more clients, it usually means you're a good coach, Paul.
Yeah, I enjoy it, and I
Yeah.
think that I'm doing pretty well. Like I have a whole bunch of my junior athletes who are just ripping it up this cyclocross season, and some of my older athletes. When that the 70-year-old that I was talking about, he just won the state championship for 70-year-olds, and it was like, that was awesome. He was just happy as anything because he wasn't expecting it, and then he got stronger and stronger throughout the season. And we had a great meeting last night where we just talked about, the season, what went well, what didn't go well, and and we learned a lot. We learned a lot over the season about what makes him tick as an athlete, and I tell all of my athletes and even the prospective ones, it's like my job is to work myself out of a job in terms of a training plan where you understand enough and I teach you enough where you could figure out this training plan on your own, but you stay with me because we've developed this relationship, this trust where where you allow me to create the plans that work for you. So, um, I think I've been able to take what I did well as a teacher in middle school and developing those relationships with kids and having fun with those kids. And I think that um, I've been able to transfer that over to my work now and to have fun with to because we spend a lot of time on our bikes or running or in the gym. We got to make it fun. We got to and it's not always going to be fun. Doing a 2 or 3 hour trainer ride on the trainer is that's pretty grim, but we're doing the best we can with it. So
Yeah, it can be. Yeah. So I'm also thinking I'm holding this webinar shortly about motivation, and as you have clients, and what's your experience? What's their main obstacle or hindrance in order to achieve what they want to achieve? Is it's kind of lack of motivation sometimes, or like to find that spark, maybe?
sometimes I think that um, there's that element of motivation or drive that needs to be present when they're doing the hard things, when they're doing the long trainer rides, when they're doing intervals.
Yeah.
There needs to be a reason, there needs to be a purpose. And so I think that's where the motivation comes from, is keeping in mind that purpose. I've been working with a young person who um, has big goals and dreams about bike racing
Yeah.
and definitely struggles with that kind of capacity to suffer and to be challenged and do the hard things. So we have been talking a lot about how to develop purpose and how to develop not just motivation, but really having an overarching purpose for what they are doing and why they are doing it. Um, I would say the biggest obstacle is time for most people. I think that that for many of my athletes, they have big goals, but they have small amounts of time, and it's hard to I just took on a client who wants to do an Ironman um, next August. And we were talking about how, the race compared to your training, the race is relatively easy, because it's just this constant training and it's so much time. Um, and that's the biggest limiter for many of my people.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. I'm training for this 96K trail run in 18th of January.
Okay.
And as you say as well, the trail run itself, maybe that is 10, 11, 13 hours. So that's fine. That's kind of one day full event, that's all good. But the amount of time necessary in order to prepare for such a race, also in order to avoid injuries and all of these
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
can I know lots of people that they sign up for half marathons or marathons and they just sort of do it. Welcome to Endurance Unleashed, the ultimate coaching program for athletes ready to take the performance to the very next level. Whether you are a seasoned runner, cyclist, or triathlete, our program is designed to equip you with the tools and methods you need to maximize your efficiency and achieve your goals. So let's dive into the exciting packages we have to offer. First off, we have the starter package. Are you ready to revolutionize your training experience without breaking the bank? Our starter package offers unparalleled value for a fraction of the usual cost. You have continuous direct contact with your coach, that is me, the Primal Swede, through our convenient chat functions on Athletica and WhatsApp. Do you need some extra guidance before a big event? We got you covered on that front as well, with individual coaching sessions and group sessions to help you crush your goals. Plus, our AI-driven platform provides interactive training guidance tailored to your needs. That's not all. You also receive bi-weekly email newsletters packed with exclusive offers and an introductory recommendation for supplements to kickstart your journey. So don't miss out on this ultra-affordable opportunity to truly unleash your endurance potential. Then we have the intermediate package. Are you ready to take your training to the very next level? Our intermediate package is your ticket to unlocking even greater performance. Building on the foundation of our starter package, you gain access to an exclusive online course focused on optimizing your diet with the Primal approach. Say goodbye to guesswork with our comprehensive package, which provides in-depth knowledge about nutrition, fat adaptation, fuel flexibility. Plus, enjoy enhanced coach access, again with me, the Primal Swede, guiding you every step on the way. With our intermediate package, you have all the tools and support you need to elevate your endurance game to new heights. Then finally, we have the advanced package. Are you ready to invest in your peak performance? Our advanced package is the ultimate solution for athletes committed to excellence. Included, you receive a comprehensive health protocol focusing on test-based nutrition, along with enrollment in our coaching program. With the advanced package, you enjoy all the benefits of our previous levels, plus the health protocol, where we help you to normalize cellular function and increase and enhance your gut biome. And to top it off, you receive one of the world's most advanced multivitamin complexes for comprehensive nutritional support. So don't settle for ordinary. Unleash your endurance with the advanced package today. And there you have it. You have 3 incredible offers designed to meet the needs of athletes just like you, whether you're just getting started or aiming for the podium. Endurance Unleashed has the tools, the support and expertise to help you reach your full potential. Don't wait any longer. Join us on this exciting journey and unleash your endurance today. Check out more, link in show notes for more info under Endurance Unleashed. On the page, you will find more information such as pricing plans and much more. Stay strong. And that's often feasible. It can be feasible, but the likelihood of sustaining or, getting injured is quite high as well, unless you really prepare well. So you have to invest all of this time. So obviously Athletic at the platform, I'm doing like 6 hours up to like 15 hours training a week, every week, so that's kind of obviously, if you have clients and for us as well, in order to fit that into your schedule overall with maybe a full-time job and relationships and all these things, right? It demands that you have a clear purpose.
Yes. And that clear purpose is what can provide the motivation that you need and the push to get out the door. It's just a matter of reminding people about what the big picture is and that today's workout fits into the big picture in this way. This is why we're doing this workout. This is why we're doing this particular ride or run today. And I think that having that specific purpose helps drive the process forward.
Yeah. Do you have, like, when you have your clients, and if we still talk about motivation, you have your clients and you see they achieve their goals, like they do their Ironmans. Do you see any noticeable change in how they act or how they are being, or self-confidence wise, anything similar?
Oh yeah, that's and even along the way, we're trying to, it's the difference between a process goal and an outcome goal, and that we really focus on the process goals so that we can celebrate the steps along the way. And there really is, I have an athlete who finished an Ironman and a couple of marathons last year. He has a really long off season, let's put it that way. And but I think for him, he realized, he's always kind of done these big picture, big kind of audacious goals that he has in his life. And he realized that he could do these as well, and that he had that capacity for doing hard things. And I think that really brings a lot of self confidence. And so that we celebrate that along the way. It's like you hit your, you hit your 30K run this weekend, congratulations, and let's celebrate that, reaching that milestone, reaching that process goal. But I think, doing these hard things physically can make a massive difference in your capacity to do hard things in the rest of your life. I think it develops some resilience and some grit and allows you to find something within yourself to, get you through the hard times, just like you did with your ride or your run or your swim.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's remarkable how, like my own personal experience, I done 2 Ironmans and backpacking across USA, and now I know that when I do one of these big challenges, I'm always curious about who I will become at the end of that journey, right? So I
Hmm.
know I'm this person today, I'm person A before backpacking across America. I will become person B, but I don't know yet who person B is, but I imagine that is kind of me, but like a level up version of myself somehow, right?
No, I
So
love that.
it's always a journey. It's always a journey. But maybe the tricky part, Paul, is unless you started to do these journeys and having these experiences yourself, you're not really aware that this might be the case, right? So like say the first time you do an Ironman and maybe your clients, they don't have so much experience in sports and fitness and all these things. How do you help them see the end goal? How do you instill into them the idea that it is possible to actually do these things? Like, I want to do an Ironman. How do you help them actually see that it's possible?
Hmm. Yeah, just to go back, I mean, I love that idea of you're going to be person B and you don't know what that is. And I think staying open to that, I think staying open to the possibilities, not trying to fit your experience into your kind of narrow view of person A, but it's like, oh, what's this experience going to bring me? What is it going to do? I really like that. And I think that's part of it. I'm a pretty honest person when it comes to goals. And if you tell me an outcome goal of an Ironman and you've been on the couch and you want to do an Ironman in 3 months, it's like, I don't think that's going to happen. Let's try a sprint triathlon or an Olympic. Um, but I think it's a constant, again, reminder of the goals that we are setting along the way. When I take on a new client, they have to fill out a goal sheet that really focuses on their process goals.
Yeah.
And what's your event goal? I want to finish this Ironman in August. What do you need to do to get there? What are the milestones along the way? I need to improve my swim. I need to be able to find the time to carve out, a long ride, blah, blah, blah. But then once they filled that form out, we have another meeting and we talk about it and we talk about, all right, this is a realistic goal. This is going to be really hard. Your training time is going to be a grind. And there's going to be times where you're going to not like this choice. And those days are going to happen. And that's okay. And so we look at it as yes, you have this big goal, but we don't want that to become overwhelming. We want to keep that as a purpose, as the carrot, but we're going to have day-to-day goals
Yeah.
and celebrating the accomplishments along the way.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Break it down. So I'm working myself like really quite consciously towards this 96K goal in January. That's why I just shared with you before we started to record this episode that not yesterday, but Sunday, I did a 27K trail run as a part goal towards this bigger goal, right? And
Hmm.
so I did the set like another 22K trail run, as a part goal towards Sunday's goal, right? So you have this big thing, but then sort of deduct or deconstruct, and you have these smaller goals, and then you can sort of evaluate and one step, one foot in front of the other until you start to reach the bigger goals. So one step at a time.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And then you learn, you learn, like you said, that you learn from your, from your last adventure. You need to have more of a plan at the end of it to make sure that you start the recovery process right away. And and so you've had a learning experience right off the bat. And that is, each of these little steps is a learning opportunity, and we get a chance to experience a lot of those as long as
Yeah.
coming back again, staying open to the possibilities, like what can we learn from this?
Do you see sometimes that you yourself or your clients tend to miss some parts of this plan? Like, I mean, for myself, it's kind of okay. I need a post-race recovery plan,
Hmm.
which makes sense when I share it with you. Like, obviously, you need a post-race recovery plan. It makes sense, right? But I never really had it before. I tend to be the kind of athlete or person doing these races. I just go all in. I do the race, and then afterwards, I just sleep and eat, and I don't care so much. And then I start to train again, and I start to get, why am I so fatigued all the time? Like I have no memory, Paul. Like I can't even remember I did this race, and I need to respect this race. So now I activated my post-race recovery plan. So it's kind of day 1, 2, and 3 at least, and good nutritious food, sleep a lot, like obvious stuff. But I still need like a checklist, like a bullet point list. So I can see it myself. Oh, that's why I'm tired. That's what I need to do. So yeah, so back to the question. So do you also see maybe yourself or your clients, they tend to have similar experience and kind of miss parts of the plan?
Absolutely. And all of those, they miss parts of the plan. They don't know what the plan is. So that's part of my role, is to teach them. Um, we don't start everything on the first day. The first time we race, we might just say, have a bottle of protein and eat something nutritious after your race, and keeping it simple. But then as time goes on, the plans become more and more detailed and more
Yeah.
specific to the race. Like for every event that my athletes do, I send them a message beforehand. It's like, think about this beforehand, think about this during the race, and then make sure you're doing, this, after the race, so that we have that level of communication, but that they are reminded to, be ready. I thought it was kind of funny. Last 2 weekends ago, went down to Chicago and did a cyclocross race, and it was my first of the season. And, I was laughing at myself because I forgot all of the stuff. I forgot my pre-race stuff, my race stuff, my post-race. Like, I didn't even bring food with me. It was like, you know,
I know.
it's like, Paul, you've been doing this for 40 years. You should know better. But I just, like, I was so excited about the race, I just forgot about the rest of it.
But you're a human being too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this Sunday when I go down, I'm definitely bringing some food with me, and I'll be ready.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking spontaneously. Sometimes you can think out of the box too. Like when I did this race on Sunday, it's like 5 degrees Celsius here in Sweden, like lots of humidity in the forest and so on.
Hmm.
I think I mentioned this in the Athlete's Compass podcast as well. I kind of like to do free running or cold running, like no
Yeah.
shirt or anything, and even though it's five
Oh,
degrees. So after maybe 10K, I thought it's too hot, Paul. It's too hot. It's 5 degrees. So I took off my t-shirt and people were staring at me. Is this like a lunatic running here or or what's going on? So I did the race, bare chested,
yeah.
27K. Yeah, good experience. Unbelievable.
That's a little crazy, but still, it worked for you, and that's what matters. Is that
Yeah,
it works for you, and that's you're taking care of yourself.
I hope I do. And also, so yeah, I recognize that experience you shared as well, forgetting things. We are coaches, but we're still human beings. But I'm thinking about something else. So you have your clients. So do you see any kind of common denominator, like the people who succeed and they set the goals? What are like the common denominators, if there
No,
are?
that's a great question. Um, I would say that there's a few of common denominators. One is that they need to trust themselves and trust the process.
Yeah,
Um, in that discussion that I had last night, one of my athletes stopped strength training midway through the season,
yeah,
and just because he wasn't trusting it, and um, he definitely, in looking back, saw a decline in his strength and that maintenance. So there's that element of trusting the process. I think there is definitely keeping an eye on the prize, as it were, keeping an eye on your end goal, having an end goal, having specific process goals.
yeah,
I think there is I don't know what to call it, a love of what you're doing. I think you really have to enjoy what you are doing.
yeah,
Otherwise, it becomes too much of a grind and it's too much work to try to, accomplish these things. You have to have fun at what you're doing. And I think there's that element of enjoyment in all of my athletes who were successful this year. They were having a good time. And yes, success definitely breeds enjoyment, but I think that they were also, I don't ever emphasize winning or doing well. We talk about racing to win, but we don't focus on the results. Like, I don't really care whether you finish second or fourth or first. I mean, it's great to celebrate that and we enjoy it. But did you meet your goals for the race? Did you race your heart out? Did you do your best? And I think that is an element of when you talk about consistency, I think the people who really went out and gave it their all and really had fun and really enjoyed the process those are the ones that seem to be the most successful.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, agreed. When I reached the finish line on Sunday, my partner was at the finish line and she told me like I saw the other runners reaching the finish line and most of them looked like totally fatigued and depleted and exhausted. You reached the finish line and you had a big smile,
Yeah,
bare chested with gloves, saying hooray. So that's a big difference.
yeah,
It's a big difference. So I think I agreed. You need to love what you do or somehow kind of find the love in what you do, right? So also when I started my own journey, when I started running, specifically running, I didn't really enjoy it so much. But after a while, when I started to realize what I was capable of, I started to enjoy it more and more and more until a result like on Sunday, like I'm running and smiling at the same time.
yeah, which is awesome.
So yeah, if you can achieve that, that's a big win. And you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, you have a new challenge coming up. Is that true? That was
I
something.
do, so I've had some health issues over the last couple of years. I've had, for unknown reasons, I had ventricular tachycardia, which is kind of the surly older cousin to afibrillation. So my heart gets out of control and starts beating really fast, and um, it's a there's spots in my ventricle that cause abnormal beating.
Yeah.
And there's no family history, so I don't really understand why it happened. But I had an ablation, which is going into my heart and burning off those parts that were causing the problems. That was last year, and I thought, oh, great, this is going to be good. But I had a whole bunch of time off and not training as much because of the problem. But then they came back, And so last spring it all came back, and it was like I did some races anyways, but I definitely held back. I had one race where I definitely had an episode, and I had to slow down because it was in the middle of nowhere, and it was like, this is going to be bad if I have a heart attack, because we're in the middle of quite
Yeah.
literally nowhere of in rural Iowa. Um, but then I had another ablation back in September of this year. So, and then I had a VO2 max test 2 weeks ago, and I, went all out, and it seems like everything has been fixed. So I decided that it's going to be kind of a comeback tour in a way, where I've picked out about 8 to 10 gravel races in
Wow.
the Midwest that either are a lot of fun, I've heard a lot about, or um, I have done in the past, and they were a great time. Um, and I'm, going to build up my fitness,
Yeah.
so my big goal, and then the US Nationals for gravel racing is in Minnesota, so just a state over. Um, and so it's pretty close to my neighborhood, so that's going to be my goal, of next September. So I'm going to use these comeback races um, to develop my fitness and really take a shot at gravel nationals. I don't expect to win. I don't expect to do well. All I want from myself is that I ride as hard as I possibly can. And I have all these different races along the way as my process goals to have fun and, challenge myself. I'm not trying to do, the 200 kind of unbound miles of, gravel.
Yeah.
I'm not going that deep. These are 60 to 70 mile kind of rides where they're hard, and I'll be going for several hours, but they're doable, they're manageable. I can still talk with people. I can still get to hang out at the end of the party because I have a brain left after riding.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I am Eric. I'm really excited. I know full well that the tachycardia could come back at any time. Um, I don't think it's going to. I think it's, my uneducated view is that it's, you know, I may have little episodes, but it's not going to come back. But I am really excited about having some goals, getting back out to race, um, seeing people again in racing, and enjoying pushing myself a little bit, enjoying that process of training. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I hear you, Paul. I can relate in the field of running. I'm a cyclist
Yeah.
first and foremost, but this like 96K race in January, it's running, right? So I've done lots of running, but back in 2017, then I
Yeah.
was doing ultra runs, but I haven't done it since. So it's kind of a comeback tour for me too. And I'm thinking, as a coach, Paul, and you have your clients, you have a really good website and all. Do you have a coach yourself?
I don't. And actually, I use Athletica, and I've had coaches in the past, and I have used them to, and I sometimes get a little bit too much into my head and, get too worried about results. And that's kind of been my mental and emotional challenge over the years of bike racing. So what I'm doing is using um, Athletica to guide my training, and I'm just going to stick with it. And I'm going to stick with it for a next 3 months, do the program as best I can and see where it takes me. And then I will, I've got some ideas of people to be coaching if everything's going well. Let me rephrase that. When everything is going well, and I'm making some progress, and those first few races are successful, then I'll explore it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I do myself. I use Athletic and I just sort of follow the programs outlined for me. Right? So Paul, kind of, we're reaching the end of the podcast episode.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, do you have like sort of a final message to the listeners, the audience? And I think my audience tend to be the people kind of that are inclined to have coaching or take up sports again, and they have been doing it before and so on, right? So do you have any final message you want to share with the listeners?
You know, I always want to encourage people to take on those hard things, to do the hard things that they've always wanted to do and that they have maybe put on the back burner. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a physical hard thing. It may be an emotional hard thing that you know, there's no better time to start than now. I mean, how cliche is that? But it is so true. It is, if you have some goal, if you have some bucket list thing where you're thinking about it, go for it and try it. You can always reach out to a coach or find a training plan and get some ideas about how to progress and think about it. And then just take the next step. I just had an email conversation this morning with a parent of one of the juniors that I coach, who is looking to get more fit, and I just sent him an email. What's your next step? What are you going to do? And that will be the message that I want to. What is your next step? What do you want to accomplish, and what do you need to do to get there?
And where can listeners get hold of you, Paul? Where's your like website, the URL, and so on?
Yeah, so I run Simple Endurance Coaching, and that's the website, simpleendurancecoaching.com. You can find me on Facebook there as well, and you can find me on LinkedIn, and that's probably a good way of getting a hold of me as well.
Perfect. Thanks for being a guest on today's podcast, The Quest, Paul. Cheers. Great to have you.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate your time.
And that is the wrap up for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find me on all main social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, even on LinkedIn under the Primal Swede. Okay, so follow me there for behind the scenes content from the podcast, but also where I share more info about nutrition, fitness, endurance, bikepacking, and all of these things. Adventure, right? About the podcast itself, make sure to subscribe and follow the podcast. I'm on all main podcast platforms like iTunes, Spotify, and so on, okay? If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to me on YouTube as well so you don't miss anything else I put on my YouTube channel, okay? So now to finish this off, I really hope you got value and inspiration, and just one final thing. Stay strong, kick ass, and be a beast, my friend. Go after your dreams, chase your dreams, never give up. Cheers, bye.